sand.
Hot sand. What do you think of that campground, Johnson?
Let's give it a try.
Yep, I gotta do that. And we're back chilling with our friends, Tammy and Lonnie. The El Morro Elfin Forest Natural Area is about 90 acres in size, and it's located in Los Osos on the southeastern shore of Morro Bay. The name Elfin Forest comes from the short stature of these coast live oaks, which grow as tall normally as 50 feet elsewhere in Los Osos. Here, they are stunted by the local environment. And despite being centuries old, these oaks range from a high of 20 feet in sheltered areas to a low of only 4 feet near the tallest ridgeline. These are about 15 feet tall.
Tammy, you warm enough?
Yeah. Okay, start up that movie. I brought along my block of the month, Southwest Oasis. I was working on the 4 for number 1. My husband stopped for some gasoline diesel in San Luis Obispo, and I saw the firehouse and the fire truck coming in and was thinking of my son, who here at home is a fireman and a paramedic. Here we are at the boardwalk at Avila Beach, and you can see the overcast skies just waiting to come in at nighttime. I must be a mermaid. May 27th to September 5th, the community is invited to participate in the creating of mermaid purses, otherwise known as swell shark egg sack, and collect plastics left on the beach, specifically broken children's toys. Each Friday at Farmers Market from 4 to 8 p.m., these mermaid purses can be made and added to our collection. We went to the Customs House for lunch, enjoying some white wine, and I see that evening I was back in the trailer working on my temperature stitch. Another lovely lunch we had was at the French restaurant Blue Moon over Avila on the boardwalk. Here we are on the 101 making our way towards Avila Beach to the south, which is just a little over 150 miles. Took us a little over a couple hours to get there. Just wide open spaces of oaks and cottonwoods and remnant. You could see fires had taken place here. The Gavilan Range trends in a northwest-southeast direction along the Monterey County and San Benito County line. It is bordered on the east by the Diablo Range and the San Andreas Fault and State Route 25. And on the west by Salinas Valley, which we know as America's Salad Bowl, and Santa Lucia Range and the U.S. Route 101. The northern limit of the Gavilan Range lies just south of Pincut Peak and San Bautista, California. In Spanish, Gavilan or Gavilan is an older alternative rendering, means sparrowhawk. Hawks, especially red-tailed hawks, are common in the range. The Gavilan Mountains and other nearby places are mentioned in several novels by John Steinbeck, such as Of Mice and Men and East of Eden, and The Red Pony. Driving through our humble little home here in Monterey, or actually Watsonville. There we are set up. Eric chillin'. We spent a really nice day on the beach, took a really long walk as far as we could go, and then enjoyed just kicking back and watching the folks. I think it was a Sunday. It was a very pretty day on the beach. Gotta have our umbrella. I see Eric carrying it there. Then back to sewing in the evening. I was stitching away on completing the owl quilt. I'd made a commitment to myself to clear the deck here next to my sewing machine, and that was one of the projects awaiting on me. So here I was in the trailer, and I got about as far as I could go, just up to putting the two sides together over our week away. And then once that happened, I needed to wait to get home. One of the places I really wanted to go while we were in Monterey was the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And from the parking lot to the aquarium itself was this Bruce Aris walkway. And I thought, ooh, who is this? And I was taking photos and I was distracting us from getting to our location. And Eric wanted me to hustle, but I thought, I am going to look this up. These are special sites, cabins. Who is this person? So I took a few photos. Of course, John Steinbeck. I taught in high school Of Mice and Men to my freshman year after year, and this is his hometown. So I wanted to get into it. So I searched around and I found this lovely introduction to Bruce Aris at the library. And this is my official Stitch Travel Journal number 3 aha learning moment.
In 1994 at age 83. I didn't know Bruce Aris, but I researched his life and times using resources from our California History Room, and today I'll tell you a little more about him.
Stay with her, it's a good one.
Aris began his training as an artist editor at UC Berkeley, where he majored in art. He was an art editor for the campus publication Occident and contributed cartoons to the Daily Cow. He was also editor of the campus humor magazine, The Pelican, and designed stage sets and posters for Little Theater. He was frequently in trouble with campus authorities for his irreverent humor and occasional shenanigans. While at Cal, Eris met Jean Fitch, who he described as the prettiest girl on campus. They married in 1934. After graduation, Eris operated heavy machinery for a gold mine and managed to accumulate $200 in savings. He and Jean moved into an old garage near Asilomar and lived off their fortune for 18 months. Eris later said in a newspaper interview, "My wife Jean and I decided to make Monterey our home. She was a writer and I was an artist, and we had very little money. If we were going to be without money, then we might as well be poor in such a beautiful place as Monterey." To earn a small income, Bruce and Jean went to work for a small literary magazine, the Monterey Beacon. But payday never came, so they moved on to other projects. In 1936, Eris got into the Works Progress Administration, a federal program set up to create public works to relieve unemployment. He painted murals for many public buildings, including Monterey High School. Along with fellow artist August Gay, he created a 150-foot by 12-foot mural covering 3 sides of a Pacific Grove High School library. Sadly, the mural was lost in a spectacular fire shortly after it was completed. "We worked from sketches I did," said Eris. 2 years to do it, and it was gone in 20 minutes. Bruce and Jean built their home and studio in a secluded pine and cypress-studded lot on Huckleberry Hill, now Lobo Street in New Monterey. Using driftwood, used lumber, scraps, and salvage, the rambling multi-level structure eventually grew to 25 rooms spread over 3 lots. The Erises raised 5 children and hosted parties for writers, artists, and friends. The house was always a work in progress, and John Steinbeck referred to it as a triumph over architecture. It burned to the ground in 1990. "I got mad at the insurance company," Bruce said. "I paid $80 a year for years, and then they raised the rate to $800. I bought a lot of fire extinguishers and smoke alarms instead. I guess it didn't work." Bruce was fascinated by the working-class environment of Cannery Row and made hundreds of sketches of street and harbor scenes, cannery workers, fishermen throughout the 1930s, well before the publication of Steinbeck's eponymous book. In 1936, Bruce and Jean accompanied Ed Ricketts and John Steinbeck on a road trip to Baja California, where the group collected marine specimens for Ed's Pacific Biological Lab. Bruce captured images of the trip by filling sketchbooks with drawings and portraits. In the 1940s, Bruce's writing, editing, and artistic skills were put to use when he created cover illustrations for What's Doing magazine. He served as art editor and eventually became editor of that publication. For the U.S. flag centennial in 1946, famous interior designer Francis Elkins came up with an elaborate decorating scheme for the huge 4-day celebration. Several blocks of downtown Alvarado Street were spruced up with new signs and brilliantly painted storefronts, all accomplished under the direction of Bruce Eris. Bruce's interest in theater dated back to his college days. In Monterey, he designed and helped build the Wharf Theater and created stage sets for many of its productions. In the 1950s, he commuted to Hollywood as a scenic artist and designed a set for Desi Arnaz's nightclub scene that could be seen in reruns of the I Love Lucy show. He also wrote several original plays for the Wharf Theater and even took occasional acting roles. He also helped Hank Ketchum with his Dennis the Menace cartoon strip, and he worked in the art department at the DLI. He supported Jean's own successful career as an author. Throughout his career as an artist, Eris experimented with many media and styles. In a 1989, a 60-year retrospective of his art featuring watercolors, graphics, and oils was exhibited at the Pacific Grove Arts Center. That same year, Bruce recreated a 2-panel mural from his WPA work in the 1930s as a centerpiece for a 400-foot-long mural created by several local artists to beautify a construction fence erected around a stalled hotel project on Cannery Row. Eris was remembered as a peninsula treasure by a local newspaper. A quote from a 19th century Japanese artist who describes himself as an old man mad about drawing hung on the wall of Eris's studio. "That's me," said Eris, "an old man mad about drawing. I've never done enough."
I hope you enjoyed that. And here we go, off to the Monterey Bay Aquarium, which used to be the sardine cannery. Erected in the fashion of what used to be there, they couldn't reuse the factory as it was just too broken down. I was all about seeing every room and display that they had, and the tanks were just fantastic. So gorgeous. But what really captured my attention was the artwork done by artists in a collection. What's the North Pacific Gyre? Strong winds and the Earth's rotation sweep ocean waters into vast, slowly spinning spirals called gyres. The North Pacific Gyre hosts migrating seabirds, sea turtles, and whales, which feed on these rich waters. Chris Jordan Gyre of 2009. If you look closely at the photo collage, you'll find toothbrushes, buttons, combs, and other plastic items. Inspired by the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and Hokusai's woodcut, The Great Wave off Kanagawa, Jordan's image uses 2.4 million pieces of plastic, the number of pounds of plastic estimated to enter the world's oceans every hour. Laysan albatross soar on long, slender wings lifted by air currents over the open sea. These large seabirds journey thousands of miles and touch land only to breed and raise one chick. They mate for life and nest on tiny North Pacific islands. Sayaka Gans creates sculptures from discarded plastic, the cast-off remnants of our use and dispose society. Gans spent her early years in Japan, where Shinto beliefs teach that every object has a spirit, and an object discarded before its time weeps at night inside the trash bin. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Dr. Seuss. This is a replica of a laboria, which is a type of boat commonly referred to as a felucca or solana. A few of these fishing boats were seen on Monterey from 1870 to 1900. It was constructed by immigrant Italian boat builders in the San Francisco area. The 19 to 20 foot craft were patterned after existing Mediterranean boats. The bent oak framing, cedar planks, and versatile lateen sail provided a remarkably seaworthy vessel for local conditions and offshore navigation. Set up for single-handed operation, the boats were rowed or sailed to the fishing grounds. Long lines with baited hooks were most commonly used, although some nets were used by boats working in pairs. Fishing gear and the catch were stowed in tubs or baskets on deck and below. The boat was rigged so that all ropes, spars, sails, gear could be disengaged and carried ashore. This meant that the hull shell could be cleaned out, which was of course an advantage considering the fishy nature of the cargo. The construction methods and lines of the felucca inspired the Monterey Clipper, the most popular type of vessel used in the sardine fishery years 1916 to 1950. After our trip visiting the Monterey Bay Aquarium, we headed down the street and found none other than a Bubba Gump's restaurant. And ironically, we both enjoyed fish and chips, not shrimp. While we were in Monterey, we visited the Wilder Ranch State Park. The state park doesn't have any spaces for camping. It's simply for day visits and walking around. It's once a dairy farm, and the state acquired it, I guess, in 1974. What Eric and I could derive from signs was that the family couldn't make a living and pay the taxes on the 7,000 acres in 1969. So I think they must have donated the property to the ranch. But the history was amazing. It goes back as far as the first European land exploration of Alta California. The Spanish Portola expedition followed the coast in this area on its way north, camping at today's major creeks, now the northern part of the park. On October 18th, 1769, on its way north, today's Santa Cruz County, the explorers bestowed a few important names which survive today: Pajara River, San Lorenzo River, and Santa Cruz. On the return journey to San Diego, the party camped at the same spot on November 21st. Franciscan missionary Juan Crespi noted in his diary the difficulty of moving along this part of the coast. Quote, "The road on this march was very troublesome on account of the frequent gulches, arroyos, along the way." When Mission Santa Cruz was established in 1791, the area became part of the mission pasture lands. Secularization of the missions in 1834 divided the mission lands into large land grants called ranchos. Wilder Ranch was a part of Rancho Refugio, a Mexican land grant of 1839. Historic buildings include part of the adobe rancho house built around the time by Rancho Guarantee Jose Bolcroft. Dairyman Delos D. Wilder, in partnership with L.K. Baldwin, acquired part of the former rancho in 1871. In 1895, the partners split the holdings into separate ranchos. Most of both ranches are now contained within the state park. Among the historic ranch buildings, the older farmhouse predate the Wilders. The oldest part of this building was built in the 1850s. Wilder's elegant 1897 Victorian home also survives. The Wilder family continued to operate the dairy until 1969, and then the state, as I said, acquired the land in 1974. Since then, the Bolcroft adobe, two Wilder houses, and several other ranch structures have been restored for use as a museum. The walk we had around the Wilder Ranch was really beautiful, special little moments of, oh, that's a pretty flower, which I had to take a photo of. And the ranch property where the homes are and the barns look to be needing a little post-pandemic care. I don't know if volunteers or if there's paid staff, but there's the adobe. It looks like it needs some tender, loving care. It looks like such a great place to take a field trip, or just like as we had a day out, but the gift shop wasn't open. At least the barn was open, and you could smell that there were animals in there. The hay smelled. It smelled so like fresh, recent, as though horses were just in there. Just a beautiful place that needs some resurrecting a bit. And I just really, really was surprised by what we found. We did not expect to find something that we had such pleasure visiting. I would really recommend anybody go. to Wilder Ranch. Here we are having our coffee. After, we went to the parish pub, and I loved the fact that they had doggy treats. We had a little bit of a cheer. I had a Cobb salad, and Eric had a lovely sandwich. And so there you go. That was our trip north to Monterey, Santa Cruz, and Avila Beach. All the best, everyone. Thanks for coming along. If you liked this video, like it. And if you want to see more, please subscribe. Our next trip is back to San Clemente in September. See you all soon. Take good care.